I'm a huge Bob Marley fan. Bob Marley is actually one of the reasons that I continue painting. When I first started, I started doing a collection of his paintings, which actually are now available on permanent exhibit at the Bob Marley Museum in Jamaica. You know, there's a song he has called War. Until the philosophy which holds one race superior and another inferior are finally and permanently discredited and abandoned. Everywhere is war. You know, the words of so many of his songs resonate with what's happening right now in our world. But Bob Marley also had another message, and it was a message of love and unity. Also a message of freeing our minds. I believe that blacks in America and just the world over, just because of colonization, Caribbean, Africa, all over the world, we are free physically. There's a mental redemption that we still need, right? We still need our own mental freedom. We need to release ourselves from the chains of that colonial mindset that robbed us of everything that we are. They took our names, they took our tongue, and they told us that our history started with slavery. But our history does not start with slavery. That freedom of our mind is one of the first things that we internally as blacks need to do. And to realize that the things that we are aspiring to and the things that we're chasing after are the things that were created by the same people who oppressed us. We need a new thought, a new society, a new thought process about how societies run. That's not built on the same foundations of those people who are motivated by greed and motivated by selfish gain at any cost, which require anyone else that wants the same thing to have to repeat the same cycle of either oppressing someone else or stepping on someone else in order to move forward. That message of love that Bob Marley speaks about comes out of that. And love is not necessarily always, you know, this fuzzy little feeling that people, you know, we think about all the time. And love and compassion for others means doing what's best for yourself, at the same time being compassionate to those that are affected by what you want to do. And our society doesn't operate within those walls. And I believe that if we really want to come together and to go to that ideal space or ideal place that we need, is to rethink the ideals that we have, rethink the things that we have been taught to go after. And America was created out of an idea. They thought that they could create this land that was completely different from everything else that they thought before. Their land of the free, for the ones that they created it for, right? We were the ones, the blacks were the ones they brought over to build what they wanted. And I think that we need to create something that's out of us, that comes from within us, not the same replica of what they created that we're constantly chasing after, that truly represents us. Go back and find our tongue again, find our names again. Understanding and going back and connecting with our roots is important. I think for African Americans especially, and even people in the Caribbean and the diaspora all over the world, need to reconnect and realize that we are Africans. And it doesn't mean to be anti anything else, because to be pro yourself and to do what's empowering you, to give yourself the power to live in your own home, to make your own rules, and to be able to self-determine, that's what everybody is looking for. Everyone wants that. Martin Luther King. We all know that I have a dream speech. Martin Luther King had a dream that we are realizing today in many ways. And when I started this, I was sharing that, you know, I am a conflicted coward, because, you know, it's really easy to live here in the comforts of the home that's already built. the reality of it is most people probably won't pick up and go and decide to go create something from scratch. But I do have my own dream about people going back and taking small steps. It may not mean that you're going to leave the comforts of everything you have now, but you have resources, you have knowledge, you have skill. Take a vacation, visit an African country, put your dollars there into one of those communities. Find a child that is in need of education and find a way to uplift that child. Or find a business that's there and invest in it. There's so many ways that we can create our own home and start taking steps to showing our next generation that we need to start building that house. Last year was the year of the return, and many African Americans for the first time took trips to Ghana and other African countries just to experience what it's like to be back on the motherland. And I think we need to start doing that more, but not just go back to celebrate, not to just go back and do your DNA test to figure out where your ancestors come from, but to look at that and see that as, this is my path back to my house. This is my path back to my home. This is where I came from. You are brought here not of your own free will. And we are not just ourselves. We are our ancestors and our descendants. And we have to think about that in a very unselfish way. About how do we create something outside of ourselves for the next generation so that they can have something for themselves. So that's my dream. My history starts with Gumbo Smart, great-great-grandfather who was a national hero in Sierra Leone. And I didn't understand legacy until I started going to Sierra Leone in 2005 with my father and seeing the legacy that he left. And my ability to use his legacy to create something that otherwise I would have never, ever, in my wildest thoughts, thought about flying to one of the poorest African countries in the world to start a business. And that legacy has done something to me and changed my way of looking at the world and helped me to think outside of myself and not to be so individualistic about the way that I think about the future, because it's not just me. Understanding where I came from is what contributed to me understand that I need to leave a legacy behind for my future generation, for my daughter, just like the ones that came over on the Mayflower and created what this beautiful America is today, that we all come to and want to thrive in. And hopefully 30 years from now, we would have started to do the things that allow us to release ourselves from the chains of that colonial mindset. Right now literally feels like it's a revolution, right? That is taking place. When I think about revolutionaries, Che Guevara always comes to mind as that image globally that everyone associates with revolution. Maybe not the same ideology, but his image definitely evokes in everyone that revolutionary spirit, which I think is what we need today. Right now we're experiencing a change, and it's a global change. There's definitely an awakening that's happening within people that we probably haven't seen in a very long time, or ever. I think in the age of technology with media, where we have the ability to communicate and share information so freely, that this is really taking hold, and people all over the world are trying to figure out how to create the revolution that we really want in our institutions, in just our culture and society, and how different people or different types of people in society are treated. Really to effect the kind of change that we want to see, we have a war not just over our physical space. The war that we have to go out there and fight to get that revolution is to change the hearts and minds of people. And the media has a huge role that they play in what happens. And a really good example of that was when coronavirus came out. And for the first time probably in humanity, the entire world came together under one idea to stop something that put them at risk. No matter where you go in the world, they understand wearing a mask and what coronavirus is. And that's because the media was able to communicate that message to everyone all at once. And if they can take that message to protect people and to communicate it so everyone all over the world acts in a singular way. I believe that the media, that same media, has the power to change the hearts and minds of people. They tell you what to be afraid of, and we are all focused on what we're being told to focus on. But I think we have to open our minds, free our minds, start thinking for ourselves, go create our own, use the media as a tool to be able to do that. I believe the media is probably one of the most, if not the most influential tool of what we call the system that needs to play their role in changing the hearts and minds of people. That's that.